Today have been tiring. A whole lot of everything happening all at once. I just got done with college for the week and God, I could hardly stay awake without a drink by my side. Though, one thing that I could always count on to wake me up was a nice round of TF2. I set up my computer, which I, like an absolute moron, accidentally left it on over the course of a day. Minor inconvenience, and opened Steam as I booted up TF2 so I could unwind. The moment I did, I immediately heard my friend messaging me. Of course, he must have been dying to get on. And then he'd have joined my party the second I loaded in. He was always eager to play, and that made it clear enough. I started browsing community servers to play on. Everything seemed so boring. It's all the same Wonderland.tf or SkiOwl24 servers. Never anything new. Until I saw one. Some small server with about 12 people on it that was running Frontier. It wasn't my favorite payload map that had got appear, but it was still a good map in my, at least in my eyes. Fast and I loaded in the round after 2 minutes of connecting to the server. And before we got to pick our classes, we got to see some more preview of where the cart was. It was on last point, and a scout, who was being chased by another, had run off the edge of the map and shortly vanished afterward. The other one stopped and just looked at the ground. Weird. I picked medic. Fast picked scout. And we look around our relatively small spawn. Odd. Even though the server said it had like 12 people, no one but 2 scouts were in the preview. There was like people in our spawn too. They were clearly alive somewhere. Maybe they were being friendly on first? My first instinct was to hold down V and speak to Loppy in my posh voice, which is what I usually do upon entering a community server, since my user is practically my character.
Good morrow, weary souls of the teams. Where might everybody perhaps be placed? We lack members of our team aiding us in our endeavor.
Hey, be quiet. I would hear before I even finished my sentence. Looking at the corner of my screen to see a red team member using voice chat. That scout from the preview. Their username was Marshy. That's a little rude of them. Maybe they're just bitter they lost that scout. Be quiet. It can hear us. What? Surely this girl was insane. Voice chat in TF2 is a global thing. In these small talk servers, anyone can hear us. What does she mean, it? What? I don't want to do that. We should just push the card and win. Then the chat went silent for a period, and we decided to finally leave spawn. When we did, we noticed a lot of our team were ragdolled on the floor, yet they were all alive and at low health. Something was a little weird now that I can see it. Though, surely it's just a glitch. Some sort of bug with the UI displaying everyone is alive. This was a pretty old game, so I wouldn't have been surprised. Fast surveyed the area, looking for any reds to get rid of, yet you couldn't see any around despite a whole team besides me and him being, like, dead. Surely if our team got wiped, the other team would be close by, right? We left our spawn through the close exit to the cart. Only then would we spot a red. As the orange shutters fell behind us. I kept my heel beam on fast as we stared at a stationary heavy. Wearing that weird Buddhist bird hat and the Bolshevik biker. He had a sandwich out in front of him, and he had his fingers out. He was trying to do that flipping taunt. Though we didn't see an icon above his head. I then started to feel cold. I don't know why. I imagined that Fast felt the same way, but I don't know. Something just felt weird now. But that clearly didn't stop Fast. He shot that Hoovy down. 2 clean shots. And the little shit. He taunted after, but that ragdoll wasn't normal. It blasted back, and just slumped over in just some really weird pose. Like, I don't get it. I kind of started to feel weird about everything. So, I tried to leave. And I couldn't. It wouldn't let me disconnect. I started to feel, like, really scared. Then suddenly, we heard someone running. So we turned and it was that scout. I'd be surprised at her loadout if we weren't already worried about other things, but Fast could at least type something out. Though I didn't want to type, so I just responded. What's going on? No time? This is a confusing mess. She began moving, and, well, we followed. Because who wouldn't? We walked into the big hallway that separated the 2 points, and we even saw her corner peeking. How the hell did she do that? She was moving like an actual person and not like a model. It was so weird. Paired with the fact that I couldn't leave, I don't know what was going on. Maybe it was some sort of hacked server. I was just scared. But then we heard something. 2 clean shots from a scattergun. They woke me up from my shocked state, and I immediately exited the menu and tried to catch my bearings. We saw, and it looks like the scout killed one of our demo men. Though, what the fuck was up with his model? His hands looked longer than anything, and there was even a hand coming out of his mouth. It was like some nasty Gmod shit that some, like, edgy fucking kid would put on, like, the workshop for, like, a week, and then it gets taken down or something. Before I could even let out a response to anything, we saw that the heavy just respawned. And then we heard something behind us. And when we turned around, it was there. The heavy was alive. And its hands, it was just like the demo man. And to make it worse, that thing just started charging at us. And Fast immediately shot that fucking thing. But then it just stopped and held its wound like it was actually someone just getting shot. It stood right in front of us and it started to change. The beak on its head began to move, stretching like really unnatural as the heavy's actual jaw appeared underneath it, and as if it was merging with the heavy's actual head. The top part of the beak began to stretch and contort while gross, fleshy sounds came from its body, and it started to speak through voice chat. And the guy on the other side, he sounded like he was in pain. I didn't know how to react. The choking, it was so scary. And before I could even think, Fast blew that thing into fucking next week. Thank God. One lucky crit ought to fucking save our lives. I felt awful. Like I was gonna throw up, yet something was clogging my throat and I could barely talk. I felt a hand graze my shoulder before I flicked to see who it was. Or what it was. It was just her. That scout. Her model motioned as if to tell us to follow, and it took me a moment to even gather my bearings, but we eventually followed after. Moving on to the last point where the train lay stationary, I could just barely see the smallest bit of a pair of fingers holding the card in place. A blue medic and a red spy, respectively. What the fuck? I had to have joined some sort of hacked game, right? I was panicking, my heart beating heavy in my chest, and my medic, as I hunched over and held my hands on my knees, panting as if I just ran around the college grounds twice. I could even feel sweat dampening my forehead through the screen. And then I looked up, both of them just staring at me. They had a frighteningly realistic expression on their faces, one that looked like genuine fear, concern. Fast's eyes were even shaking. She offered her hand to me, and I took it in a moment's notice. I let her pull me up, just so I could breathe. Hell, I could barely even move. All I wanted to do was breathe. And eventually, my model got back into its usual stance with the minigun. Up until we heard something awful. A chorus of screams and cries for help, really quickly approaching. From behind us, too, where that heavy was. God knows what that was. I didn't want to see shit. Fast would shoot his weapon to get me to start moving, and we both began to flee through the edge. I had kept my beam on fast to gain a speed so I could get back faster, but there it was. The edge. I felt my feet nearly give out, and I stopped. I felt like I was gonna drop. Like I was about to kill myself. I held off. Fast felt the same way. He paused right in front of me, and we couldn't do anything. There was nothing we could do. So the both of us turned, didn't look back, and jumped right off, leaving right after we did. And after that, I know for sure I'm not going to play this game again for a while. I even tried to message that scout after we left, but I had no response. No words I could even say anymore. Even after that day, I still felt eyes glaring back at me whenever I did so much as look at TF2 in my library. Maybe someday I'll go back, but with that monster in the servers, God knows if I'll ever go back.